This is the Indie Book Show and we're here at the Lewisham Black and Multicultural Forum, so let's go and chat to some of the speakers. We're here with Arthur Torrington, who is the Projects Director at the Windrush Foundation. How long have you been working with the foundation?
For just over 18 years.
So what does Windrush do?
Well, we started in 1996 because we felt that the memories of the men and women who came on the Empire Windrush. It's a ship which was taken from the Germans during the war, during the Second World War, and it became a troop ship. And this troop ship was taking and receiving and putting soldiers around the colonies. Mm-hmm. So this particular ship, SS Empire Windrush, it went to the Caribbean, and it must have actually unloaded, hundreds of British troops. But then when it was coming back to the UK, it would have been almost empty. Mm-hmm. So what they did, they advertised that there's space for people to come on board, and that's what happened. So those people in those days, I was in 1948, they decided to take the journey. And in those days, they paid £28.10.
That's a lot of money.
And that's a lot of money in those days. That's something like 6 weeks' wages.
Wow. So the Windrush Foundation was set up to preserve that sort of heritage.
The memory of the men and women who came, because see, when they came, it was quite an experience for them, because it was felt that this ship coming from the Caribbean, which was unusual in the sense that it had something like over 500 people. They felt, well, this is like an invasion of people in the Caribbean. So that there was a bit of talk in Parliament as to whether they should turn this ship around, because that was the story about the ship. But of course they couldn't, because you had men on board who were contracted to the RAF. So you couldn't turn back people like that. But it was only a fare. So in that sense, lots of things began to happen after the ship arrived, you see, in terms of understanding that this is a period now of migration out of the Caribbean, you see. And after that, as you may well know, thousands of people have actually been coming in the Caribbean. Sort of, but this was like the first ship that had that particular publicity.
Yeah, it's a massive change in the way Britain is populated.
And
but
these people were coming in obviously with their own culture, their own music, and so on. So in a sense, what is being said about the ship and the people is that it marked the dawn of multicultural Britain.
Yeah, exactly. So the foundation started in '96, and since then, have you sort of engaged with younger audiences as people have come in to enjoy their heritage and learn about it?
I tell you this, we actually go to schools almost regularly, where we talk about Windrush, we talk about the war, the Second World War, because the Second World War is in the curriculum, and therefore lots of schools actually ask us to come along and to talk about it. Well, I mean, I wasn't on that ship as such, but I take people who were on the ship, who would talk to the children. So, for example, in about 3 weeks' time, we're going to be going into some schools in Gypsy Hill, which is in South London, and we will be telling the story about Windrush and about the Second World War. As
a foundation, have you worked at all with the government and with the national curriculum trying to get the story of Windrush into schools more
Absolutely, because in fact it is in the curriculum. I think it's in either Key Stage 2 or Key Stage 3, but it's called the Windrush generation. And I think all it's actually saying is that here are people who came post-war, and their journey and their story, their interesting story, and therefore that story ought to be told. And especially the young people who have their grandparents or parents who came from the West Indies, it's good for them to know that story.
I think the more multicultural Britain becomes, the more relevant it is for everybody to know.
Absolutely, to know, which is important to know. The understanding of each other's culture is important. And you see what happened with the Windrush men and women. They brought about music, in a sense, Caribbean music. In fact, the carnival that we see now is a product of their work. You see, in 59, there's a lady by the name of Claudia Jones who actually set up a committee, and one of the guys who set up the Windrush Foundation, my colleague, co-founder, he was on that committee. Mm-hmm. His name is Sam King. He was the treasurer of that first Carnival committee, and that Carnival committee organized an event, but not like a Notting Hill event in the street. No. It was organized in a town hall, in St. Pancras Town Hall.
Okay, and that's sort of the first
Notting That was the first of its kind, and it developed obviously into a street carnival, which it ought to be.
And do you guys put on events to encourage?
Indeed, we put on events like socials, like workshops for young people to come along and hear about Windrush and about the war. We also attend events and cooperate with other people to put on events.
You've got Making Freedom, the exhibition starting soon.
That's our most recent, the last but one event, I should say. It's an exhibition called Making Freedom. And what Making Freedom is, it's the journey of African people from or out of enslavement, right, into freedom. So the word emancipation is to be set free, and what they did, this is going back to the early 1800s, this is a particular story. What we have is something like 20 panels, and on each panel you have a story, one by one, 20 different stories. And we start with a story of Haiti, when Haiti declared independence as a republic, Toussaint Louverture, and then we go on to talk about 3 major rebellions in the Caribbean, which led up to emancipation, showing that Africans there had a part to play in their own emancipation.
Yeah. So
whereas the story that a lot of people hear, especially in schools, is that it was just given to them because the British were sorry.
Politics, government, yeah.
Politics, that's right. So this story is putting the African point of view.
Yeah.
To say, well, Africans took part in this, and emancipation was achieved.
Yeah.
And then from there, there's the journey right through, the 1840s, 50s, 60s, 70s.
All the way up to
and we go, we cover the First World War, you see. And what we want to bring in there is this new project that we got funding for from the HLF. That lottery funding is to pay for, or to fund, a man by the name of Dr. James Russell. Now, James Russell he was born in Demerara, that's in Guyana, British Guyana. And his father was a plantation owner. His father was a Scottish plantation owner, and he was reasonably rich. So what he did, he actually sent both sons, James Russell and William Russell, to a place called the Dollar Institute, which is in part of Scotland, somewhere in Scotland.
Yeah.
And then from that particular institute, they both went to Edinburgh University.
Okay.
One qualified as a doctor, and the other qualified as a barrister.
So the research you're doing into these particular people's history, is this from the National Lottery funding you've received?
From the funding, that's right.
And then what are you planning to do with the research? Are you going to take
this research now is going to be given out to the public. It's going to be put onto our website. It's going to be free to the public, obviously. It's on a website. We can also put all the research we've done from when this guy was born in Demerara, right through to when he died in 1939, because he had a surgery in Wimpole Street.
Yeah.
And that's where he died.
So you've just done a talk for Lewisham Council today. Did you mention the National Lottery?
James Russell was mentioned, and the National Lottery was mentioned, indeed.
And are you in conjunction with them at all? Are they helping you spread the word? Or?
Yes, indeed. I'm working with Alan Morrison here at the libraries, and he and I are working on getting the information out to the public. For example, on Saturday there's an event at Goldsmiths College.
Okay.
And one of those speakers is Richard Smith, who's a historian, who's done work on Jamaican soldiers in the First World War. Yeah.
So if people want to find out more about Windrush or get involved or come and see one of your talks or learn from your research, where can they access that?
They can actually go on our website, and our website is called makingfreedom.co.uk, and they can see what we've done.
And you're constantly doing things, so...
Indeed. In fact, this particular exhibition is also at City Hall. Greater London Authority and it's there until the end of next week. And it's open to the public.
Okay, well, good luck with it. Thank you so much for talking with us.
Okay.
Thanks.